Good evening and welcome to KTN Prime this Wednesday, the 26th of June, 2013. My name is Betty Kialo.
And I'm Eric Njoka. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, this evening, President Uhuru Kenyatta has moved to avert a crisis in the education sector, summoning officials of the ministry to State House to discuss ways of ending the teachers' strike.
Well, this after the nationwide strike entered day 2, with teachers defiant that they will not resume teaching until their demands are met, even as the Ministry of Education said the 1997 agreement was null and void.
That's right. Also tonight, United States President Barack Obama began his African tour in Senegal, a tour that will see him skip Kenya and visit neighboring Tanzania. We will be telling you what analysts are reading from Obama's big snub.
And now to our top story tonight, which is the teachers' strike. And we now cross over to our reporter Catherine Omwanto, who is standing by at our City Centre studios. Catherine, good evening. What more can you tell us about day 2 of the teachers' strike?
Good evening, Betty and Eric. Well, as Eric mentioned, President Uhuru Kenyatta did call officials of the Ministry of Education and officials of the Labour Ministry just to find a solution, because day 2, those are 2 days of children or pupils and students not going to school as compared to their counterparts in private schools who are continuing to learn. So hopefully something will come out of this meeting with the President, and hopefully a solution will come out before this gets a little out of hand, as it was the case last year. Now, the Senate also discussed the teachers' strike as well, and during their discussion, there was something interesting. They reduced the monies that were allocated to building former President Kibaki's office to 250 million compared to what had originally been allocated, which is 700 million. So that's 450 million, which some people speculate that it could be going into finding a solution to paying teachers. But 450 million is not enough compared to the 47 billion that the teachers are demanding in terms of allowances. Earlier on today, we were at a function with the Cabinet Secretary for Education, Jacob Kaimenyi, and we're also at a press conference with the Kenya Union of Teachers, where both sides are saying they're not budging and they're only willing to negotiate if there's money in the bank. And this is the story that we filed for you earlier today.
We cannot dialogue. We cannot give something on the table for people who have not come.
If they think running around and threatening teachers and giving statements that are not right is going to derail us, then you tell them they are mistaken.
Day 2 of the nationwide teachers' strike, and the gloves are off. Both sides of the divide dig in their heels even more.
Legal notice 2003, number 16, which amended the legal notice of 5/3/4/1997. In other words, that legal notice superseded the earlier one. Are we together in this?
I think Professor Saitoti was a clever professor because he implemented the salaries, and while we were not seeing a gazetted legal notice number, it is what you are discovering now, and we have to clean it.
The National Teachers Union is adamant that though there is a legal notice 16 that amended the salary agreement reached in 1997, the only document that should be considered is legal notice 534 that ended the 1997 12-day strike. Last year, when the teachers went on strike, it was based on allowances stipulated in the 1997 agreement. It was the same document used to negotiate an agreement that saw teachers go back to work.
Sisi tungetaka kumwambia afadhali asione mdomo kama anajua ile anasema haifahamu.
As the strike gained momentum, teachers in public schools in the Rift Valley forcefully removed teachers in private schools from classrooms. To them, no teacher of a private or public school should teach until the government agrees to pay public school teachers their allowances.
We are prepared to shift the gears higher than the government thinks because of the belligerent and dictatorial behavior that we have seen coming from the other side.
There was a meeting scheduled for this evening between NUT and the government. However, NUT officials say that they will not attend the meeting because there is simply nothing to negotiate until there's money in the bank. NAT officials also say that they do not want any member of the Central Organization of Trade Unions to take part in the talks between NAT and the government. Catherine Omwando, KTN in Nairobi.
Thank you very much, Catherine, for that story, which leads us to our big question tonight. And we ask, after 2 days, should teachers now end the strike? After 2 days, should teachers end the strike now?
That's right. Send your yes or no response with a brief comment to the number 8040. You can as well tweet us at Betty Kialo, at Eric Njoka KTN, and at KTN. And we'll sample your views during this newscast and give you the poll results at the tail end of this bulletin. Remember, we're still focusing on the teachers' strike. And now, as we continue to follow the effects of the teachers' strike, we cannot fail to put into focus the plight of children learning in public schools.
Well, our senior reporter, Makueni, now joins us from Eldoret. Masi, what have you been working on tonight in regard to the plight of Kenyan children in public schools?
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Betty and Joka. We have been working on a story that highlights the plight of not only students in public schools, especially the candidates who are now who will sit for the Kenya National Examinations, which will be in the following term, as they are currently on the second term. But we're also focusing on parents who have their students in public schools. And these are parents who free primary education came as a flowery thing, but then it turned out to be not all flowery at all, as public schools have had challenges here and there. So today we focus on the life of a student, a candidate in public school, and also the life of a parent who has children in public schools who are coupled with very many challenges. Take a look at a story we filed for you earlier on in the day.
Day 2 of the nationwide teachers' strike, and inasmuch as the teachers are demanding their right to reasonable salaries, the same action is denying these young ones the right to education. Away from the excitement in the school compound that comes with the teachers being absent, is this Class 8 pupils who know too well that with every passing day, their national examinations come closer. Among them is 13-year-old Eric Siema, hoping to rewrite his life and chart his destiny.
Nasoma nikuwe daktari.
He is in Central Primary School in Uasin Gishu County, a public school. Majority of these students hail from humble backgrounds, thankful for free primary education, but one that has not been all that. According to a World Bank report, every school day, 45% of teachers in public schools are either away from school or present but not teaching. This, coupled with other challenges, makes Eric's endeavor even difficult.
Private school sahi wanasoma wakati public school wasomi. Nao hao wanafundishwa na walimu wakati walimu hawezi kukosa darasa wakati wowote, ilhali sisi wanafunzi wa public school tuko na shida, walimu wanakosa darasa saa zingine.
He knows he has to work twice as hard as his counterparts in private schools. Mrs. Siema, Eric's mother, is a single parent, raising 3 children. She does odd jobs. The money she gets, she uses to pay school fees for her children in installments. All are bright, she says. One got a spot in a national school, but her inability to pay school fees forced her to take the boy to a day school within Eldoret. Either way, she won't give up on taking them to school. She knows this is their only hope of getting a better life.
Sijafurahia sana kwa sababu watoto class 8 wako kwa tamu ya mwisho karibu wafanye mtihani. Hasa unaweza ona tena hata mtu mwenye angeweza kuanguka mtihani na anguka mtihani kwa sababu hiyo mkomo haijanifurahisha kabisa.
And even though her children, who are all in public schools, do not get to learn as a result of the strike, Mrs. Siema continues to look for another shilling and hopefully pay up the school fees one step at a time.
This is Langas Primary School. It is one of the largest public schools within Uasin Gishu County. It has a population of over 2,000 students. The school itself is located within the slums of Eldoret. The parents we talked to here say they do not want the laptop project to be shelved to the advantage of the teachers' salaries. They say the laptop project is the advantage to the disadvantaged in society. Makueni, KTN, Langas, Uasin Gishu County.
Thank you, Marcy, for that. And that's why we're asking, should teachers now end the strike? While the government engages in a blame game with striking teachers, thousands of retirees who were members of the Kenya National Union of Teachers, when the government acceded to their demands for allowance increments in 1997, are relieving on their missed opportunities. KTN's Fred Omulo caught up with a former primary school teacher who stuck to his craft through 3 regimes that have kept the teachers waiting this long.
At 62 years, Mwalimu Nyakwaka ranks among the teachers who taught 4 different generations of Kenyans. And even back then in the 70s when he started out, it was a dog's life.
And then the salary was meager, 210 Kenya shillings.
By 1997, he had risen through the ranks and was a deputy head teacher, a position he would hold to retirement. Facing the general elections, the Moi government promised a deal it never intended to fulfill.
So we were told that we were going to be paid in a system of 6 installments. So those who were there by then, like myself,
the only extended to teachers was a slight increase in responsibility allowance from 45 shillings to just above 200 shillings a month. The Teacher Service Commission then offered to help its members procure bicycles with this increment.
If other civil servants could have been allowed to even purchase vehicles, why teachers not to have vehicles, only a bicycle? So we were disgusted with that, and majority of teachers never wanted the bicycle anymore.
Nyakwaka retired in 2007 and took up farming. The behavior of subsequent governments have left him predictably appalled.
What is laptop now? Because there is curriculum, which we used to teach. There is a syllabus. There is a chalk wall or a chalkboard. There is a blackboard there. What is it again for laptop?
4 decades of service in the teaching profession, the best salary that Mwalimu Nyakwaka earned when he retired was 13,000 shillings. Today, he enjoys a monthly pension of 9,000 shillings. For him and many other educators, the stance that the government has taken towards the teachers' strike is nothing short of an insult. From Kisian in Kisumu County, I am Fred Omulo.
Away from matters education, and 11 Kenyans who are being held in Nigeria over controversial businessman Anthony Chinedu's deportation have finally been released. The 7 government officials and 5 crew members are expected back into the country tomorrow after being held in Nigeria for 24 days. The Nigerian government has also released the East African Safari Express aircraft, which was chartered for the mission and which was detained at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos. The government will now have to pay 27 million shillings for the chartered aircraft.
The release was as a result of high-level discussions between the government of Nigeria and senior officials of the government of Kenya, led by Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs, Amina Mohammed. This breakthrough is a testimony to the good relations that have always existed between the people of Kenya and the people of Nigeria. We also, as a people, appreciate the kind gesture of the Nigerian government for the waiver of the parking fee for the jet, which had accumulated quite substantially.
Now, United States President Barack Obama kicked off his Africa tour in Senegal in an itinerary that will skip Kenya. As he begins his tour, it has emerged that business mogul Chris Kirubi and Safaricom Chief Executive Officer Bob Collymore have snubbed Obama's invite to Tanzania for his meeting with Africa's leading entrepreneurs. But as Samogina reports, the Chief Justice Dr. William Mutunga is heading to Senegal to meet Obama.
Counterterrorism speech at the Obama week-long Africa tour officially kicks off Wednesday. The U.S. president itinerary has sidestepped Kenya owing to the ICC cases facing the country's president and his deputy. A stance that has not only irked businessman Chris Kirubi, but equally Safaricom CEO Bob Collymore. Collymore says despite being invited, he will not honor the invite due to a calendar clash.
Giving him the contempt card, which is what Uhuru has done by disappearing to Russia, Japan, and China, is the best strategy. We are making a statement saying, if you ain't coming to Kenya, forget about it. We will not mourn, we will not wait for you. It'll be about doing our business as usual.
Obama makes his first stop in Senegal for 2 days, where he will meet with 11 African Chief Justices, including Kenya's CJ, Dr. Willy Mutunga, the only Kenyan to honor Obama's invite. He will then proceed to South Africa for another 2 days. Obama will finalize his trip in Tanzania, where he is to meet with Africa's leading business icons. Obama's Africa trip has elicited mixed reactions in Kogalo, home to his father and grandmother.
Okay, I didn't feel good when he can come to Africa and is living here without touching even his homeland, even an hour. I think now we are not happy.
He's our man. He should feel at home and come to Kenya to visit the people of Kogelo.
His grandmother is about 80-something. She will be very soon, she'll be the age of Mandela. And should anything happen and she is hospitalized like Mandela, and God forbid should he call her home, how will he respond? Will he also send an emissary, or he'll attend a funeral from Tanzania?
Nonetheless, the US has been blasted for applying double standards on engaging with suspects. In his tweet, former Imenti Central MP Gitobe Manyara says, in the G7 meeting, Obama did not object to meetings with Italy's Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi, then facing sex charges, but will not meet President Uhuru Kenyatta.
And by saying that we are not showing up in your country, he's saying, I would have rather that you went the other way. So basically, the visit is not a snap on the two leaders, it's a snap and a slap on the face of all Kenyans.
While the US says President Obama's trip in Africa is to advance trade ties with its key allies, observers believe Obama's decision to skip Kenya was a political statement to President Uhuru Kenyatta and his government. Samugina, KTN, Nairobi.
And now to some disheartening news. 3 students from Manguo Secondary School in Kiambu County are recovering at Tigoni Hospital after they were raped by their teacher. The incident happened as they attended a drama festival. The teacher, currently being held at the Tigoni police station, is alleged to have given the students unknown drugs which rendered them unconscious and then raped them after the event. In a separate incident, several leaders headed by Nairobi Women Representative Rachel Shebesh today protested the release of a nurse from the Kenyatta National Hospital alleged to have raped a patient suffering serious burns and admitted at the hospital. The leaders also expressed outrage at the Kenyatta National Hospital management, stating that the incident happened a while ago and they did not address the matter promptly.
Kwa police au pia ndio wanaficha. Na sasa ile sexual offenses bill, si mnajua actually tulipitisha na Njoki Ndongo alileta, inahakikisha kwamba mtu ambaye ana rape na ule anasaidia wote ni kama kitu moja. Naona kuona OB wamemcharge na nini, because lazima wamcharge na rape.
Afanyiwe kuangaliwa kama kunaweza kupata nini ile evidence ya kuonesha jambo kama hilo, ingawa kwa kisayansi mambo kama yakifanyika na mtu anakaa siku 2, 3, 4 inakuwa ni vigumu kupata. Lakini nilisema hata kama ni hivyo, mimi si daktari, mimi nataka ifanywe hiyo iko kwa record.
Elsewhere, the Makueni Senate by-election race is beginning to take shape with 4 candidates already taking their positions. Today, the Jubilee Alliance unveiled former Kibwezi legislator Professor Philip Kaloki at a Nairobi hotel, where he vowed to trounce all other candidates in the July 22nd by-election. And on the ground in Makueni, former Assistant Minister John Harun Mwao presented his papers to the returning officer and was cleared to vie. Also presenting her papers this afternoon was Jane Kitunda, who vied for women representative position in the last general election and came second. CORD's candidate in the by-election, Kithi Kilonzo, is expected to present her papers tomorrow in Makueni and thereafter hold a rally to be addressed by CORD's top brass later that day.
to matters governance, and the 47 governors and their deputies are calling for a supplementary budget to have the government release an extra 50 billion shillings over and above the budgeted 210 billion shillings set for counties in the financial year. While speaking in Nairobi today, the governors also want the Transitional Authority to rationalize the allocation of devolution ministry and have the excess funds transferred to county governments.
We will have serious problems, especially with 18 counties that are unable to balance their books, even on terms of salaries and the current levels of spending in those counties. They will definitely be unable, about 18 counties. National government has also tied us to pay salaries for everybody. The previous council workers and also the existing national government staff, which is in most counties is an over-establishment.
It could be nice to give them that extra money, 258 billion, but our view is let's start with the 210. 210 should be spent very prudently. It can still go a long, long way, because if it's spent wisely, it will really change lives.
We are glad you're watching KTN Prime. And a reminder of our big question tonight. And we are asking, after 2 days, should teachers now end the strike?
Or send your yes or no response with a brief comment to the number 8040, and Eric and I will sample your views during this newscast and give you the poll results at the tail end of this live news bulletin. Well, you are watching KTN Prime, and just ahead.
On KTN Business today, we let you know how the real estate players are now having a good deal, as they can now construct a housing unit for as low as 370,000 Kenya shillings. Join me, Joy Doreen Bira, on this edition of KTN Business Today.
Thank you very much for staying with KTN. Welcome back to KTN Prime.
Now the 11-year-old boy who was one of the two casualties of Sunday's militia attack on Torok Village, Mandera County, has died. Mohammed Bilal died earlier today while undergoing treatment at the Kenyatta National Hospital for multiple bullet injuries on his chest and the spinal cord. Bilal was laid to rest this evening at the Langata Cemetery as the family called for a lasting solution to the ongoing clashes between the Gare and Dagodia communities in the larger Mandera and Wajir counties. The other casualty, a 1-year-old girl who was also airlifted to Nairobi for specialized treatment, is still at the hospital in critical condition. So far, 15 people have lost their lives and 22 others injured in the inter-clan clashes.
Now, so Kenya's best university is the 17th best in Africa in web popularity, according to the International Higher Education Search Engine and Directory reviewing accredited universities and colleges in the world. University of Cape Town in South Africa is ranked as the best university in whole of Africa, with the least ranked university being Modern Science and Arts University in Egypt. Kenya got 7 slots in the list, with the University of Nairobi topping the list at number 17. University of Dar es Salaam in Tanzania is the best in East and Central Africa at number 6. Other universities to make it on the list in Kenya are Strathmore University at number 44. Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, JKUAT, is at number 56. Kenyatta University, number 66. United States International University, or if you like, USIU, number 77. Egerton University, number 80. And Moore University at number 85 in the continent. Well, which university? Which university?
My university wasn't there, but
it was there. Number 85. Number 85.
I hope they will, learn from the University of Cape Town in South Africa.
Yeah.
Was your university there?
All the best. Yeah, it was there.
Let's not mention names.
I'm glad.
Well,
so all the best, actually.
Okay. Yeah. Let's now take a short commercial break to pave way for the lovely Joy Doreen Vera with the day's business. Stay tuned.
We cannot dialogue. We cannot give something on the table for people who have not come.
Glad you're watching KTN, and well, it's time for business. My name is Joy Doreen Vera. Just how low cost is low cost housing in Kenya? This is the question many have been asking themselves. However, Shelter Freak now says it will be building low cost houses in Mavoko that will cost only 370,000 Kenya shillings per unit. This, it said, as it received a 1.7 billion shilling loan from the European Investments Bank. Phil Keitani kicks off tonight's business.
The prospects of owning a home for most Kenyans still remains a pipe dream, even though the living standards have improved. This ordinarily stems from the high cost of houses or the high interest rates charged on mortgages locally. But with the signing of the deal, Shelter Freak promises to make low-cost houses a reality in the Mavoko area.
Our shareholders do not want to have a dividend payout. We don't have to pay taxes, so we can pass the advantages to the promoter.
The project for Mavoko is around 2,500 units. The 5 million is just the first phase. I think we will expand more.
In the deal, Shelter Freak will offer loans to local developers to provide the units while offering infrastructure and services needed for such an estate to come in place. Sitting on a 50-acre parcel provided by the government of Kenya, the project is expected to mature in 5 years.
As the demand for houses continue to rise every single day, this new deal between Shelter Freak and European Investment Bank is supposed to provide the cheapest housing in the country so far, and with only 370,000 shillings, you can own a house. Philip Keitani reporting for KTN from Mavoko, Machakos County.
Thanks, Phil, for that report. Now, the Kenya Petroleum Refinery will not be closed down. Instead, the government will look at all available options of reviving it. According to Energy and Petroleum Cabinet Secretary Davis Churcher, the decision to keep the plant working was made as prospects for an oil and gas boom in the region intensify. A string of discoveries in Kenya and other nearby states could soon transform an area that has long depended on imports into a major energy exporter. Over the last 2 months, oil marketers have put pressure on the government to shut down the 50-year-old refinery, as its continued operations, they argue, are not sustainable. The shutdown option has also been known as workers remain apprehensive.
The viability of the refinery as it is today and what aspects need to be upgraded. Of course, for an old asset like this, nilikuwa nikieleza management kwamba unajua tukifanya kazi tukifika uzeeni, it doesn't mean we don't have value. When you have done your part and you are old and we are able to upgrade, that is what we'll be significantly and critically looking at.
The role of Kenya's social security institutions has come in sharp focus as the country's retirees continue to slide into old age poverty. This is despite the institution's hold of billions of shillings in savings. Adelaide Chengole has more details.
Despite recent efforts by the National Social Security Fund, NSSF, and the National Hospital Insurance Fund, NHIF, to reform, players in the insurance industry still hold the two for failing in their obligations for far too long.
The NSSF, which many of the people rely on, have had, the money there squandered. And, for us, it's not big deal. We don't seem to realize the implications in terms of the well-being of the people.
Despite collecting and holding billions of shillings on behalf of Kenyans over the years, the two funds have had very little to show. What's more, the two continue to perform way below international standards. And while it is in the public domain that the two have attempted to reform, with NSSF drafting a bill to change from a provident scheme to a pension scheme, efforts of NHIF, on the other hand, have largely been victim to schemes out to derail them.
All these are institutions that are supposed to have or were created so that they could take care of all of us in our old age. but that have failed. But the government is looking very seriously at reforming the NSSF and NHIF.
The two were speaking at an event where CIC Insurance launched an annuity plan to provide retirees with a steady lifetime income and enhance their contribution to economic development even in advanced age. Adelaide Changole, KTN Business Today.
And the Agricultural Society of Kenya's Kisumu branch held a luncheon with Western region stakeholders in the run-up to the annual Trade Expo scheduled for August 6th. This year, the society has been seeking modes of turning the event into a more dynamic platform for the East African business community to showcase its wares while building linkages. Last year's expo attracted 115 exhibitors drawn from across the country, with both the public and private sector represented over the course of 5 days.
And I would like specifically to thank.
The theme is enhancing technology in agriculture and industry for food security and national growth. I know all of us who are here would wish to see food security, where we do not have to import any type of food at all.
Corporate members, you are very, very important for this show, because I know your hand is seen in most of the activities that we have here, in terms of sponsorship, in terms of so many other activities. I would want to call upon you to continue supporting Kisumu regional show.
And well, that's it that we had on tonight's edition of KTN Business. Time for us to look at the money market, see how the Kenya shilling performed, and how the listed companies at the Nairobi Securities Exchange did perform. My name is Joy Doreen Bira. Good night.
It's now time for KTN Sports Today. I am Nicholas Mudimba. Gor Mahia and table topper Thika United shared the spoils in a drab midweek Premier League match played at the Moi Sports Centre, Kasarani. This comes as former Gor Mahia coach Zdravko Logarusic clarified that he never signed any contract with Gor Mahia. Gor showed their real intentions to go ahead and secure a win over Thika, but the efforts were fruitless. Rama Salim and Dennis Renkuma attacks kept Thika United defense line on their toes, but nothing much came of it. Gor Mahia brought on Paul Kiongera for Eric Ocheng, while Thika United rested Clayton Amiheso for Francis Kahata in a move that added punch up front for both sides, but still there were no goals. Thika United remain at the top of the standings, so Gor Mahia have to be content with third position. Immediate former Gor Mahia coach Zdravko Logarusic says his love for Kenyan football has not diminished even after being fired in absentia this week. The Croat says he bears no grudge with former employer. Logarusic, who spoke to us on Juma on phone from Croatia, insists that he did not have any contract with Gor Mahia and was ready to come back anytime he was needed to resume his duties, but never returned an air ticket.
When are you coming to Kenya?
I don't know. When job opportunity will come, I'll come back to Kenya.
Have you received your dismissal letter?
They sent me something, but I couldn't open it. I don't know what I didn't even read. That's a mess from the office. I think few people from the office, they boycotted me from the beginning, and just they organized all of those things. Some part of the office worked very hard.
Yes.
And to organize everything against me, and they succeed. I couldn't say all officers of Gor Mahia, but people which are being involved in Gor Mahia, they know few people which work very hard. They organized live in media.
Many of the Gor Mahia fans are hopeful the Croat will make a comeback to the team, but let's wait and see. Moving on now, former Kenyan goalkeeper Matthew Otomaksowino may have retired from the sports, but he has not divorced the sport that made him a household name in the 90s. Otomax, who has been watching the way the current crop of shortstoppers are being handled and treated, feels unsatisfied. Victor Gale caught up with the former custodian in his Githurai 44 base and puts the story into perspective.
In a senior team.
Former international Matthew Otomax is among the few goalkeepers from Africa not to have ever conceded a goal against the Super Eagles of Nigeria during their active days between the goalposts. However, the former Kenya one feels it's time the national team handlers considered turning attention to the short stoppers in a better way than it is currently.
Goalkeeping, it's all about advice. You need to prepare your player mentally. You need to talk to him about positioning. Like, look at the goal that we conceded against Nigeria just the other day.
Otomax is one of Kenya's celebrated custodians, also feels that the model of training for keepers needs to be upgraded in order to avoid conceding easy goals from opponents when the defense is strong.
Hata juzi niliangalia warm-up ya Nigeria na warm-up ya Kenya. Unapata tumeweka goalkeeper kwenye lango, unampigia shots ya kumfunga. You're not warming up.
Otomax is currently working with schools in Nairobi as a way of developing youth soccer. Victor Ogale, KTN Sports.
And that's all for KTN Sports today. Up next is Perspective with John Alan Namu.
KTN Sports Today, in association with Guinness.
He believes a man's name finds its meaning not in what he says, but in what he does. A name that is made of more.
Well, before we wind up this bulletin, remember today is Wednesday and it's Perspective Night. And today we are focusing on, tonight we are actually focusing on a very sensitive issue, infertility.
Well, Edith Kimani will be having those details shortly. Infertility is such an important social issue and she'll be giving us the details of that feature.
And tonight we had asked you a big question: should the teachers end the strike after 2 days? And this is how you polled. I see the results on your screen there. 62% of you said no, 38% of you said yes. Maybe you can start with Twitter.
Yes, indeed. Some tweets coming in here. Beg your pardon for that. Mwanga Dominic says 2 days is not enough for the government to feel their wrath. Let the strike have this week and then the negotiations can kick off.
On your SMS 8040, Emmanuel Sanya, you say let their plight be attended to by Mr. President the way he did to unsatisfied legislators, because these teachers are the ones that have made the best of our leaders. So do not back off easily, teachers. Thank you very much for your feedback today and for watching KTN Prime. American Joker.
And I'm Betty Callow. Edith Kimani is up next with Perspective. Stay tuned.